Hi there. Welcome to Conversations, where we seek to advance your leader and team excellence by discussing relevant topics that impact today's organizations. Welcome to the show. All right, here we go. Hey there, leader, and welcome to Conversations for Leaders and Teams, where today we have Nirupa Netram, who is the founder and CEO of Lotus Solutions, LLC, a Florida certified woman and minority-owned business that helps organizations create diversity and inclusion to ensure a fair and just workplace. And she does this through providing consulting, training, and keynote speeches. Nirupa is an attorney, mediator, arbitrator, and executive with experience in the corporate, legal, nonprofit, and government sectors. Nirupa, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am great, Dr. Kelly. I'm just so excited to be with you today.
Yes, I am excited to have you. Now, you are coming to us from Southwest Florida, yes?
I am. I'm here in the beautiful sunshine on a hot and humid day.
Yes.
Actually born in Guyana in South America and emigrated here. And I've been in Southwest Florida as a child and grew up here, spent my entire career here other than going away for undergrad and law school.
Yes. Have you ever been back to Guyana?
Oh, yes. I periodically visit. And
That's
it's a
nice.
great experience to go back and see the culture and see the roots, where you're from.
Right. Yeah. My family came here from Italy. My mom was born here, but her dad, my grandfather, came here when he was 12. And so I have yet to go to Italy. I had an opportunity. Okay, I'm getting off track, but I had the opportunity when I was 16. My grandmother wanted to take me, and I had to go to summer school that year. So I was not able to go, but it is on my bucket list.
So you have got to book a trip to Italy soon.
That's right. Little known
when
fact
it's safe
about
to do
Dr.
so.
Kelly. She had to go to summer school when she was 16. Oh, well, today we are going to talk about something that you are totally passionate about, and that is DEI. And so I would love for you just to unpack for the audience, what is diversity, equity, and inclusion? Kind of how you see it and what it means to you.
Think about diversity. I think about the importance of recognizing and respecting our individual differences. And to me, that term encompasses different races, ethnicities, genders, generations, religions, people with disabilities, those who identify as LGBTQIA+, and so much more. And the equitable component means that you're really creating access for opportunity for everyone. Mm. And the inclusion piece is, again, making everyone feel that sense of value and belonging. And I think it's really important for organizations to have these three components in the workplace: the diversity, the equity, and the inclusion, and also for boards. There's so many benefits to having diversity in the workplace. You'll find there's more innovation, more creativity, less turnover, and a big one for businesses, more profits.
Yes. Yeah, that bottom line is so important for organizations. And it seems like sometimes that gets in the way. But how you are positioning this is that it can actually help that bottom line, right?
Absolutely. Those three components are something that businesses should really embed into the way that they do business. So it's not, just a one-time training. It's ongoing training. It's having a diversity program.
Yeah. So what does that typically look like? So when I think about boards and the boards I've been on, or the boards that I've been in front of presenting a proposal or whatnot, I'm always looking and seeing, how diverse is this board? And so, your expertise around this, what would it look like for a board who is saying, we would like to make some changes, or, how can we make our board, more diverse? What does that look like? Like, what are the questions maybe that they have to ask themselves?
Right. So there's many components of it. You want to look at, for example, are there any potential barriers to someone joining my board? And those could be, many boards have giving requirements. Well, thinking about, is there an alternative to your giving requirement? I once sat on a board where there was an alternative. You could attend, say, 2 to 3 events a year in lieu of the giving requirement. And I thought that was such a great alternative.
That's fantastic.
Can't afford to be on the board.
Yeah.
And it's also important to have someone that's responsible for the board recruiting, that's going to have some accountability. Because as you recruit board members, you want them to reflect the diversity of your community, of your clients. Mm-hmm. And so having somebody that's really committed and accountable when they're recruiting board members is key, because you don't want to have somebody that's on your board that maybe wants to join your board to be, quite frankly, on the letterhead.
Yeah.
I sat on boards where for 2 years, I didn't see certain board members. And I think you want to have board members that are going to actively contribute and help you advance your mission and your goals.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you said that, because so many times there are passive boards, right? They are not active, as active as they should be. And so I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's a terrific reminder for organizations to be looking at the board, or board members to be looking, to the left and right of you and around the table, and really seeing, what is our board doing, right? How are we moving that, the mission and the vision, helping the executive director or the CEO? What is the partnership there? What does that look like? So I love that you had mentioned about there's opportunities to really take a look at how we operate at the board level, and to make, I don't even want to use the word concessions, but make opportunities, right? Create opportunities for people to be able to step in as a board member with an organization that they're passionate about, and have a way through, right? Have a door that's open for them. I love that.
Absolutely. And it's also important that we, keep in mind that we have hidden biases, right? Mm-hmm. So sometimes we gravitate towards our own networks, people that look like us. So those are all things that can impede board diversity. So you want to be aware of those things. Even some organizations tend to look at titles. Mm-hmm. Let's follow CEOs on our board. But as we know, unfortunately, many diverse populations are not in those roles. So it's important to look beyond people's titles and focus on their competencies to your board. One of the things I always recommend is organizations actually conduct a leadership and skills gap analysis to see what's missing. What do you need on your board? And I'm also a big believer in term limits for boards, because I ensure that your board is not stagnant. You might have great folks on your board, but you want to inject that new and fresh perspective.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you there. I am all for term limits. When I hear of board members who have been on for years and years, and it's like, and then it's like, okay, do we have group think, right? We talk about group think, and how, does everybody have to, they start thinking in the same way, and that's not diversity. That's not having diverse thinking. It's having that group think. And that's a slippery slope right there for organizations.
And you do want to bring in board members that not are only just yes people. Mm-hmm. Want to have board members that are going to challenge you, to reach those goals in maybe a way you haven't thought of before.
Yeah. And so I know on your website you have a terrific assessment tool. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And thank you so much for mentioning it.
Yes.
We actually created a self-assessment that any employer can take to see how they're doing in these 3 areas: in diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is a quick tool, downloadable. It's less than 20 questions, and it's yes or no questions. So your yes, kudos, you're doing a great job. Your no's represent the opportunity, though, the opportunity to create even more diversity, whether it's in your workplace, your top management, or your board.
That's terrific. And let's just mention where that is, your website, real quick. We'll say it here and then we can say it at the end as well.
Absolutely. So it's www.3Ws, I might have just said 2, solutions.biz, B-I-Z.
Awesome.
So it's
That's
pretty
terrific.
simple.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage everybody to go to Nirupa's website and take that assessment and really unpack. It's a wonderful. I always look at tools as reflection, right? It's a reflection of where we are, but where we need to go. And like you said, with a gap analysis, that's important. Right. It's important to understand that. And when I think about what you've been talking about at the board level, I feel that also, if we were to talk about teams, that can also feed into how teams operate too, and how we are choosing members to be, because we can look at a board as a team, but we can look at our teams within our organizations, and what does that look like, right? And
exactly, you want to make sure that your top management, that you have that diversity there. Mm-hmm. Organizations may think, oh, I have diversity because they're in my entry level positions. But I always think true diversity is in your top management and it's on your boards. Yeah. And many of these benefits of having a diverse board also translate into diverse talent. Mm-hmm. So yes. It's a win-win situation.
That's right. I had somebody ask me when I had mentioned that you were coming on the show. I had somebody ask, "Is there a formula? Is there a formula for how to create that diversity?" And I know you mentioned the gap analysis, but is there anything like somebody can just say, and I hate to say this too, a box checker. I check boxes on things all the time. But is there a formula to help craft a diverse board?
Some of those basic strategies that we talked about, looking at where you're recruiting and how you're recruiting and being aware of those biases. So some of the strategy is out there, but some of it is just getting to know the organization, to find out what are their specific barriers, what are their gaps, what are they missing, the composition of the clients that they're serving. Because like I mentioned, you want that board to reflect the diversity that's in your community. Yeah. So I think a lot of it when I work with clients is getting to know them. Because there isn't a cookie cutter solution. There are some things that you want to examine across the board of every organization, but it's really getting to know the organization, where they at, and then meeting them where they are and coming up with customized solutions. All is customized, whether it's the trainings, whether it's the program. So I like to get in there, get to know the organization, and then get to work.
Yeah. And that's terrific. Let's talk a little bit about what you offer and go there. Absolutely. So what are some of your programs that you have?
So I have various training programs. And again, I meet the organizations where they're at. For example, I've had companies that say, I want to know how diversity affects my bottom line. So I'll come in and do a presentation on here's how diversity affects your bottom line. Or maybe someone wants to know, why is this board diversity topic important to me? So I'll come in and do a presentation and build that again, customizing it and tailoring it to the needs of that business. And the same with the trainings for teams. You know, maybe unfortunately in your workplace, you may have some challenges that you think could be addressed in a training. So we work together and figure out what type of training is best. You know, maybe there's one of those populations I mentioned that we want to focus on more. And one of the things that's unique about my training is I use my experiences, the experiences of others, stories I've heard, and I actually build case studies. So they're real life scenarios that have occurred, and they get people talking, because so often we don't recognize that diversity, equity, and inclusion issues, they happen in our everyday interactions. So it's important to be aware of how we are behaving, how we are acting, the words that we are using.
Yeah, so important. And I love hearing that, you know, what you do is not cookie cutter. You know, that's how I work too. Everything is customized. And I think you're right. We do need to meet our organizations and those within those organizations where they're at. And no organization has the same set of problems. They may look the same, but there are always differences, right? So if you were to look at an organization, their gap analysis may look a little bit different than another. And, you know, when I sit here and listen to you and I think about, again, some of the boards that I've either been a part of or been in front of, and let's just say their clients, the people that they serve are, and I'm just going to say white. They're white. Their board is white, and they're having a really difficult time just embracing color within their board. What would you suggest for a board like that and their thinking?
It's then stepping outside of your comfort zone. It's getting to go out in your community and get to know people who are not like you. So I think that's a great starting point, is diversify your own network. Yeah. You can begin to see the value of these different perspectives. And I think that's so critical, because while you mentioned the majority of boards are Caucasian, I think the stats around that, it's 90% of board chairs are Caucasian, 4% of all boards tend to be Caucasian. So it is important that we attempt to diversify those boards. And I think something else that I always keep in mind that I share with clients is that in just a couple of years, 2045, the white population will no longer be the majority in the US. Will actually be the minority. So that will be an interesting shift, because it'll be the first time that's occurring. So it is important that we include others that are not like us in the conversation, to have those new ideas and the fresh perspectives. And you get to learn. I don't know about you, but I love being around people that are not like me. Learn about their background, their cultures, their education, their upbringing. So I think it's a great experience, diversity.
I think it is too. And I also think it goes back to, you know, I just itch my head, because like I said, you know, my grandfather came here from Italy. And I know, you know, as my mom had darker skin than her classmates, and it was really difficult for her, especially when they moved up into an area out of where the Italians lived, in the small town where I grew up, and up to the East End, right? The East End of town, where all the doctors and dentists and whatnot lived. She had a really difficult time fitting in. And so my heart always breaks, when I think of that. My mom is a little girl. And it goes back to really who was really, if we go back in time to our roots, how many of us we're all foreigners. We have all assimilated to the U.S., right? Even the first settlers. So, it always boggles my mind, when I hear people, talking about, people don't belong here or whatnot. It's like we all have come from roots, from
exactly
other countries, and that's what makes us a beautiful collection of people. And like you said, our organization should be reflecting that, whether or not, in the case of that I brought up, whether they are Caucasian and that is who they serve, it is going out and it is looking at other people and other, who are different, and getting curious, right? It's always about getting curious and learning about the beauty of others, and honoring them for what they bring and what you don't know about, right? Because there are
exactly.
many diamonds in the rough, because people don't, especially if you're quiet, right? And there's many people who may want to step into a board role, but they're more, they're quieter. They don't know how to step up and in. They need encouragement. And so I love that, you can work with top leaders all the way down throughout the organization, and really be able to give people a voice as to how to approach DEI and how really to incorporate it throughout the organization, and create spaces for people to step up and into areas which maybe they wish that they had the opportunity to.
That is perfectly said. And I love your point about, at the end of the day, we're all immigrants.
Yes.
And people are coming to the United States like me to pursue their dreams.
Yeah. That's my grandfather, 12 years old. He pursued his dream. He was a barber. He ended up with 3 barber shops. And, he made a way for his family. And, yeah, it's a beautiful story, and everybody has a story, right?
Right.
I myself, the town that I grew up in, it was mainly, there was white skin all the way around me. There was a small population of a skin color that was different than mine. And as I got older and I started going to a bigger city that was nearby, when I was dating my now husband, I remember almost being shocked. And I look back and think, how crazy is that? To be shocked by that I was the minority in that city. And is because I didn't know. We don't know what we don't know. And so that's why I'm so glad to have you on and really, talk about this passion that you have and open the eyes of people. I know that I still have a long way to go. I'm constantly learning and catching myself, but I'm also helping others like my mother, even though I told her story. There's times when sometimes I just have to say a little something just because it's just how she grew up, and the things that we learn as we grow up, they're embedded in us, right? But we can have this culture shift and this mindset shift when we start learning and really getting curious about diversity, just, not only in the workplace, but in our everyday life.
It is. And it's so important to share those experiences. Like you mentioned, growing up being surrounded by one set of folks and then moving, and how that shapes us. And I think we need to be really respectful of people's opinions and their experiences along this way, because you will have those moments where maybe you want to say something to someone that they've said something maybe they should not have. But instead of, judging them, asking them maybe, why do you think that way? Yeah. What makes you think that way? Instead of saying to them, well, that's wrong. Not say such things. I mean, you might eventually get to that point, but it's important to understand people's background and what's the foundation for their beliefs.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, this has been a terrific conversation, Nirupa, and I would love to connect people to you. So how can people get a hold of you if they want to hear more about the work that you do, how they can have you into their organization? Tell us.
Great. Thank you for asking.
Yes.
So my website, as I mentioned, is lotussolutions.biz. My email is simply my first name, Nirupa, at lotussolutions.biz. You'll find that information also on the website. I'm also on LinkedIn. My personal profile is there and my company profile. And I'm also on Twitter at Lotus S LLC. The S and LLC are capitalized at the end. So I look forward to talking with people, and I actually have a board diversity program that I launched, which includes a customized board diversity presentation, an assessment that goes into more detail than some of the issues we've talked today, but really getting to know the organizations, their opportunities and their challenges. And then at the end of it, we come up with a strategic plan to diversify this board. So it's a program I'm really excited about.
Sounds exciting.
To work with companies.
Yeah, that's some good work that you're doing right there. Gosh. Well, yes, get a hold of Nirupa and have a conversation with her around how your organization, how your team, how your your board can maybe make a little bit of a shift. And I get the sense that this place takes place over time. It's nothing that is going to be like, the magic pill that you take and everything's, terrific. It's all about a journey of learning, it sounds like, and then incorporating.
It is. I've heard so many people say diversity is a journey because you'll build a program, put together your initiatives, your metrics, and then you might look at it and think, oh, we need to shift, we need to pivot. So it's something that you're constantly analyzing and finding new ways to tweak that program. So it really is a journey.
Yes, that is great. Geez, thank you so much for coming on and just, helping me explore and gain more knowledge as well as the audience around, this passion of yours that should, I guess, be everybody's passion, right?
It should be. And I think we're getting there, you can't turn on the news or read the news without hearing about diversity, equity, and inclusion, which makes me happy because we're talking about this issue. And I think it's something that's here to stay.
Yeah. Well, and it should be here to stay. We should constantly be evolving in our thinking and our approaches in order to, like you said in the beginning, right? It's all about, being productive as well as that bottom line, right? Seeing that bottom line grow, which is important for organizations. We know senior leaders are always looking at that. And so you have offered some very practical information today, and I thank you for that.
Thank you so much for having me on, Dr. Kelly. It's a pleasure. I know we could have talked for hours today.
Yes, we could have. All right. Well, we will see you soon, and thank you so much again for being part of Conversations for Leaders and Teams.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. If you like what you hear, be sure to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts or your favorite listening platform. And check out my book, Leadership Excellence by Design, Strategies for Sustainability and Strength, available on Amazon. Until next time, this is Dr. Kelly Whalen. Keep doing great things because our world needs leaders like you.